hook right here from the ring in front. Unwrap the strap, put it over your head, wrap the strap tightly around your waist, and refasten it. Next to me, I have a life ring that has 35 feet of line on it, and that is in case someone accidentally goes overboard. Nobody ever has. But if that were to happen, I'm going to need your help. You are going to be my eyes on the water. You are going to yell, "Man overboard," very loudly. Make sure you get my attention in case I don't see it. You're going to watch that person in the water at all times while I'm getting the duck turned around. And as long as it's somebody that you guys like, I'm going to throw the life ring out to them, bring them back on board, and we're all going to be heroes for the day. If we have to evacuate the duck on the water for any reason, which has never happened, but if that were to happen, make sure your life jackets are securely fastened and then use your nearest exit. Your side windows are your nearest exit. This is a round trip tour. I can only pick you up and drop you off here at the Pleasure Pier. There's no stops and no restroom breaks. If you are wearing a hat, it does get a little bit windy once we get moving, so make sure you hold on to your hat. If your hat blows off on the tour, you just donated it to the island. You need to remain seated at all times. There is no smoking, vaping, alcohol, eating, or e-cigarettes allowed during the tour. Also, can you silence your cell phones for me now, please, out of consideration for everyone? Also, no cell phone conversations, and please keep talking amongst yourselves to a minimum since this is a full tour, and I will be narrating the entire time. You guys have any questions on anything I just covered before we take off? All right, I'm going to get the steps up, and we're going to get going.
Los jackets están ahí para quitarle de seguridad. Los otros son chiquitos para niños de menos de 60 libras. No se lo pueden pedir. En caso de que cuando se meta el agua, si alguien se sale para el agua, apaga la lámpara y se van por el lado derecho. Cuando vean alguien en el agua.
God, I don't think you're moving.
Cualquier pregunta, pueden hablar porque ya se trata de exactamente. Vamos a poder ver otro que está
Al baño.
la comida ni para no para
No, solamente para andar.
All right, we are facing east on the seawall, and I need to get us turned around so that we are facing westbound. You guys can do me a favor, please? You just put your seatbelt on for me, reach under your seat, grab your lap belts, swing them across your waist, and get those nice and securely fastened for me. We have very strict seatbelt laws here in the state of Texas. They're not there?
No.
Nothing.
They're not there, you guys. We do that to every single tour because we like to make sure that people are paying attention and can follow instructions. Everybody say bye, Peyton. Bye, Peyton. Now, how many of you guys are riding on the duck for the very first time? Oh, most of you? Me too, guys. Welcome to the club. Now, don't worry. I have been trained extensively on our company duck simulator. It's also known as YouTube videos. Well, they say you can learn anything on the internet these days. We are about to find out. Is it loud enough back there for you guys? Loud enough? If you can't hear it, you need it louder? A little bit louder?
Yeah.
That better?
Okay,
Okay, no problem. That's why I asked. Alright guys, let's get this duck on the road.
Oh my God.
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you Galveston back in the 1940s as a military recreation pier, much like the Chicago Navy Pier in
This
Chicago.
is so weird.
Ours was considered the king of pleasure piers, and it had a large carnival midway, it had a marine ballroom, and it used to attract some of the biggest bands back during that time. The original pier operated until 1961 when it was destroyed by Hurricane Carla, and after that the city of Galveston opted not to rebuild it. You can go ahead, and it was permanently closed. What was left of the pier was sold to a businessman from Houston, and he took the former pier and he built a 7-story luxury hotel right where the pier is now. Was a 7-story luxury hotel called the Flagship Hotel, and it operated right there for more than 40 years. If you look up pictures online, just Google the Flagship, you see lots of pictures of this marvelous hotel that went all the way out over the water, operated for more than 40 years, from 1965 until 2008 when Hurricane Ike hit the island. Hurricane Ike hit the island on September 13, 2008. Unfortunately, the Flagship was damaged beyond repair, and what was left of that hotel was sold to the Landry's Corporation. And the Landry's Corporation decided to rebuild the pleasure pier there by putting all the shops and restaurants on it and all the rides and amusements. And it's been in operation now since 2012. As we're driving by the Gulf, you can notice that we are raised up quite a bit higher than the water level or the sea level, and that is because we have a seawall here.
That's so
Now, that was
cool.
not always the case. Back in 1900, there was no seawall on Galveston Island, and the island population in 1900 was about 37,000 people.
Yeah.
On September 8, 1900, a devastating hurricane hit Galveston Island. Now that hurricane doesn't have a name associated with it because back in 1900, they had not started the process of assigning names to storms. So it goes by the name of the Great Storm or the 1900 storm. Well, that storm unfortunately killed a fourth of our population. More than 6,000 people died in the Great Storm, and more than 3,000 people were missing, unaccounted for, and presumed dead. The Great Storm of 1900, right here on Galveston Island, still to this day, it is the deadliest natural disaster in United States history. So as a result of that storm, the devastation to the city, and that massive death toll, the city of Galveston decided to build our seawall. Now we have a saying here in Texas, and that saying is, get her done. Well, that's exactly what they did with our seawall. They got her done in only 2 years. Started construction on the seawall 2 years after the storm in 1902. By 1904, the first large portion was completed. They built it actually in 4 large sections. Well, by 1915, another huge hurricane hit the island, and in the 1915 storm, only 18 people lost lives. So by 1915, the seawall had proved its worth. It was saving lives and protecting the island. The seawall was continuously expanded until 1963, and it now goes 10.5 miles along the Gulf Court here. It's considered one of the largest uninterrupted beach promenade or urban parks in the world. The seawall is 17 feet high. It is made of solid concrete, and there are 14 rock
so
jetties
cool,
or
like,
rock groins.
I'm
Technically, a
not
rock
in fact, I
groin,
didn't
not a
know.
jetty. There is a difference, but
1951?
anyway, we won't get
Oh,
into
we were like in
that. 14 rock
2018.
groins along the seawall that are part of the seawall's construction. Their purpose is to reinforce the seawall, to deflect wave action, and to help stop beach erosion. And they are made out of 6-ton red granite blocks that were brought here from Marble Falls, Texas. Now, after the first portion of the seawall was built, they're like, you think that was something? Basically, hold my beer. Watch what we're going to do now. We are going to raise up the elevation of the entire city of Galveston. And that's exactly what they did in the early 1900s. They did a grade raising or an elevation raising where they put all the houses and businesses up on
That's a
hills.
crow.
They left an and they raised everything up, and then they set everything back down. It was one of the largest civil engineering projects in the history of the United States. Well, when they were done, they had sloped it from here on the seawall. This is the highest elevation on the island at 17 feet high, and it gradually changes in elevation to only 3.5 to 4 feet when we get down to the port area. So it's never ever flooded here on the seawall, and it's never flooded directly behind the seawall, but that changes significantly if you just go in a few city blocks, especially if we have a storm, or even if we just have heavy rain. So if you live on the island, you want to live up here as close to the seawall as possible for that reason. Right next to us is Guido's Restaurant. Guido's Restaurant is the oldest fine dining restaurant here on Galveston Island. It has been owned and operated by the Guido's family since 1911. And there's a big blue crab on the side of the building. That big blue crab has been featured there since 1964. So very, very important part of our history. Once we go through the stoplight, we're going to be coming under the former grounds of Fort Crockett. Fort Crockett was an Army Defense Artillery installation that was named in honor of Davy Crockett of the Alamo.
Why are people waiting on us?
The fort started here on our right, and it went on for several city blocks. They had more than 3,000 troops stationed over here, and they also had an airstrip where they trained World War I and World War II fighter pilots. There's going to be some original base housing coming up. There's going to be some little brick cottages coming up on the right-hand side. They're kind of set back behind the fence here. Those were original base housing. And they also had an airstrip where they trained World War I and World War II fighter pilots. Now, when World War II broke out, they spotted German submarines right out here in the Gulf.
World War II.
They knew that wasn't good, so they decided to put gun emplacement platforms all up and down the seawall and put large guns on them capable of firing up to 16 miles offshore. Now that's more than 1.5 times the length of our whole seawall. Well, luckily we were never attacked, so we never had to fire those guns in anger. But we had to test fire them to make sure they worked. And when those guns were test fired, they broke out all the glass and all the windows all up and down the seawall. Now when World War II ended in 1945, they took all the guns down, and they took down all but one gun emplacement platform. So there's only one left on the whole seawall, and it's coming up here on the left-hand side. You'll see there's some white steps going up to it. On the right, there's some white buildings with red roofs. These are original buildings from Fort Crockett. Very few buildings that are original Fort Crockett are left on the island, and those now serve as office space for the Fisheries Department of NOAA. You'll notice as we go by the gun emplacement platform that there's a large opening on each side of the step. That large opening is where the big guns used to sit. And then there's a green statue on our left. That is the 1900 Storm Memorial, and it pays tribute to everyone that lost their lives in the Great Storm. It was put in place on the 100-year anniversary of the storm on September 8, 2000. On the right is the San Luis Hotel. It's built on top of the Battery Hopkins. It's not really on a hill, it's on a giant underground concrete bunker, a military bunker, that has 8-foot thick concrete walls, and it used to go from one side of the hotel all the way to the other.
That used to be a military
Closed
base
since
with
the
a
fort was decommissioned, and most of it has been covered up with their landscaping until you get over here and you see this strange concrete structure. That is the casemate for the Battery Hopkins. They had a large gun encased in concrete there. It could actually shoot 10-inch mortars. So there's one just like it on the other side of the hotel, but that one was covered up about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago when they did some new construction. They covered the other one up. But other than that, the things that I've shown you, not a lot left of Fort Crockett or the Battery Hopkins that you can see here on the island. But if you like history or military history, you can do a quick Google search for them online, pull up lots of good pictures of them. Because originally the casemates were not around the guns there, and it was just a big open air gun on each side, and then they put the concrete there to protect them. I just forget to tell you guys, or maybe I should say warn you, you are going to feel several bumps was a boom town. When we were in our heyday, which was really from 1839 until about 1920, we were the second largest immigration port in the entire United States. We were second only to Ellis Island in New York. That, of course, is where the Statue of Liberty is located. And during that high time of immigration, we had thousands and thousands of immigrants come to the port of Galveston in search of a new life in America. Unfortunately, during that high time of immigration, there was a devastating yellow fever and scarlet fever outbreak that killed a large number of people. That's why you see all of these cemeteries out here. These cemeteries go from 57th Street all the way across the other side of 61st. Now, the oldest graves out here are the shorter ones that have the like 45-degree angle on them. Most of them are on this side, but there are some on this side as well, especially on the corner up there. But those are the oldest graves out here. You kind of tell by looking at them. But they go all the way back to the 1800s. Now, the city of Galveston was founded back in 1839. And the founding fathers, well, they never thought that there was going to be anything out here on this part of the island or in this part of the city. So that's why they built all the cemeteries out here, never guessing that the island was going to grow as much as it has. Also, back then when you died, if they knew your religion, you'd be buried in a cemetery that was specific to your religion. So the big cemeteries we just went past, their religions were not known. But if your religion was known, you're going to be buried, or back then you'd be buried in a cemetery specific to your religion. So coming up here when we get to the corner under the live oak tree is a small Greek Orthodox cemetery. And then directly across the street from us is a large Catholic cemetery.
What?
So back
Now,
in
if
the
you
day,
look closely at this cemetery, you'll notice this one is fully fenced in. They had to put a fence around this one because this one was so popular. People were just dying to get into that one. Quack, quack.
We're dying to get in here.
And don't worry, guys. I will be here all week long. We're going to turn out here on the 61st Street. Not too far from the water. In just about 5 minutes, we'll be heading out onto the
There's
water.
somebody on this cross. Pretty sure people are dying to get there. What did you say?
So we're on 61st Street. This street is kind of like the uneventful dividing line on the island. But then you can be on the other side of the street there, technically starting where the west end of the island is. The island's really divided into 3 sections. The east end, Midtown, this is Midtown that we're in right now. And then as soon as we cross the street there or turn left there, that is where the west end starts. If we were to turn left and go down about 1.5 miles and turn right, we could go up to Moody Gardens. Any of you guys been to Moody Gardens, where they have the pyramids? That's a non-profit recreational and educational destination. And we'll be taking a look at Moody Gardens in a few minutes. And the next light we come to, that's where we're going to turn left and head out onto the water. But when we're on the water, if you're using your phone to take pictures or videos, make sure you have a very good grip on it if you hold it outside of the duck so you don't accidentally drop it. And also, don't try to lean down out of the duck and touch the water, please. That is for your safety. If we get on the water and one side of the duck is heavier than the other, I'll give you guys some real simple instructions on how we will correct that. Each tour is different, so sometimes we have to make the adjustment and other times we don't. 90% of the time, if we do need to make the adjustment, it's going to be on the right side of the duck because the fuel tank is in the very back. But we're at a half a tank of fuel, so we may or may not need to. So we're going to turn left at this light. We can get up to the light. On the other side of the stoplight on the right, when we get closer, you'll see there's a body of water over there. That's a man-made body of water. It's called English Bayou. So I told you guys that they elevated the city of Galveston. Well, what did they elevate it with? If you're going to raise up the city, you have to have some kind of filler material. So this body of water that you can see on the right-hand side behind the Frieder's restaurant, that was all land in the early 1900s, and that was all dug out Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Wake up back there. We're going on the water.
We're gonna get on the water. Is this mineral water?
Más donde se voltee para que sepan nadar. Mira el río Bravo ahora.
Guys, we're going in the water, bro.
Might be a little bumpy. Not bad, but just a little bumpy till we get out past the dock. And that is because the tide, the water is a little bit
Are you
low
sure that's a
right
good
here.
grip?
All right, guys. Here we go.
Oh my, bro. Guys, we're in water. Woo!
All right, and we are off. Just that I do need to turn on our flux capacitor.
Oh my. God, this is crazy. It might be an hour long, so.
And I also just turned on our propeller, which is a 48-pound solid brass 24-inch diameter propeller. You didn't see it, it's directly behind the steps in the back, but that's what's giving us our propulsion or our
Guys.
movement on the water. Now this water that we're on, we are on salt water. We are one of the only jet companies that operates on salt water. A lot of people, you're not from the area, you come out here, you might immediately think that this is a lake. Looks a lot like a lake. It's a very calm and protected area. vessel. This kind of duck is a DUKW. Pronounced duck, but it's spelled DUKW. D stands for the year these vessels were built. U stands for the utilitarian nature of these vessels, meaning they're amphibious, so they can go from land to water like a duck, like we just did. K is for the four-wheel
Do you see that? That's
and
seaweed.
W is for the dual rear axle. These were built as military transport vessels to help support the war effort overseas during World War II. They only built 22,000 of these ducks. They were all built up in Pontiac, Michigan, at a cost of $4,500 each. They would load them up on large ships, and then they would send them overseas. They would launch them from those large ships, and then they would drive on the water just like we are now until they got to the shoreline, and then they would drive up onto the beach. The motto with these ducks is, there's no beach we can't reach. When World War II ended, was in 1945, they didn't know what to do with these ducks. They were scattered all over Europe and all over the Pacific Theater, and the U.S. government couldn't justify the cost to round them all up and bring them back home when they didn't even know what they would do with them. So the decision was made when World War II ended that wherever these ducks were located is exactly where they would stay, which was usually on a beach or a battlefield. So once a duck left the United States, it never, ever came back. But you are riding on an original 1942 duck. You're riding on the Miss Leslie Ann with me this afternoon. This duck was up in Pontiac, Michigan. It was part of the 22,000 built. It was ready to be shipped overseas, and then the war ended. World War II ended. So the ones that were left here in the United States, they ended up being sold as military surplus. People bought them, they modified them, and they turned them into duck tour vessels. We're going to hit a little bump here, you guys, from that smoke going past us. Ride the wave. But again, you are riding on an original 1942 duck. So that was maybe like a half a foot wave, a 1 foot wave. This vessel's rated to go out in speeds up to 25 feet high. Not something I would ever want to attempt. And usually we don't go out at all in this coffee here because, you know, most passengers are not used to that. We want you to have an enjoyable ride. That's our threshold with the U.S. Coast Guard. On our left, if you like fried shrimp, Aunt Margie has a shrimp shack here called Darlene Shrimp Shack. Has some really, really great fried shrimp. They make like 15 different flavors. Cajun, lemon pepper, original, and then they have all kinds of fancy sauces to go with them. And you either eat them right there or you can take them with you. But really, really good place to eat.
What is it? Seafood? Seafood.
Would you guys like to see how fast the duck can go?
Yes.
Yes? Alright, hold on so you can experience the full power of the duck. In 3, 2, 1. This is the full power of the duck. We only go 6.3 miles an hour on the water and 45 miles an hour on land. If you're older, you may have heard the term you're a sitting duck. It originated from these vessels back in the 1940s because they moved so slow on the water like we are now that they were sitting ducks for the enemy to hit them. Now, if they did get hit, they could look in a large force diameter hole anywhere on the side of the duck or the hull of the duck. There's a big pump that runs all the way underneath the duck called a Higgins pump. It'll pump the water out and keep the duck afloat. The duck is 31 feet long, it's 8 feet 9 inches high, and it's 8 feet 2 inches wide.
Let them take
It weighs
that.
19,570
Right there,
pounds, and our engine
somewhere
is
you
a
can see like a
GMC,
restaurant.
General Motors Corporation.
This is crazy.
6-cylinder engine, sounds pretty respectable. Except it's only 91.5 horsepower. That's a huge amount of horsepower for this large vessel. Usually you have like 400 horsepower or bigger for something like this. Which is why we go so slowly. Because we only had one purpose, and that was to move troops and supplies off of large ships and onto shore during World War II. And we are going back to shore right now. We are going to get this duck back up out of the water and back onto terra firma. And you will feel a bump when we come out, and then it's because the
this is
tide is
pretty good,
up some today, but the tide is still pretty low right now. That's because we are going out at the low tide. Let's get her back up to dry land.
Guys, isn't that really
Get ready,
smooth?
guys.
Oh my god. We are so high. Oh my, we are so high up. I want the propellers back. Come on, we are almost at the palm tree. It's not a palm
Alright,
tree.
guys. We made it! Back on dry land.
Oh my, finally.
Now, we wouldn't have made it if I didn't use the four-wheel drive right here. That's what those levers are. We use it one time during the tour. That's the K and the
You put it
KW.
before.
We put it in four-wheel drive before we are driving out of the water. So I mentioned we were the second largest immigration port here in the entire United States, second only to Ellis Island in New York, and this was back in the 1800s and early 1900s. Germany was the number one country that people came here from. More Germans immigrated through the port of Galveston than from any other country. We have a lot of cities in Texas, such as Schulenburg and Fredericksburg, that were established by German settlers. A lot of them stayed here on Galveston Island, and then they went, of course, throughout the United States. Do you think any of your settlers could have come through the port of Galveston? You don't know unless you check. Just look up the Historic Seaport Museum's website. It's free to check it out. Historic Seaport Museum. Put in your family's last name, and if any of them came through the port, it'll tell you what year and what ship or what vessel they arrived on. We're going to head to the downtown portion of the island now and continue our tour. We're going to get a good look at English Bayou coming up. Again, coming up this body of water here on the right. Entirely man-made body of water dug out in the early 1900s to provide fill for the island grain drainage. Very popular for water sports. During the 1960s, they had bars with ramps there for them to put water being up and water being
So it means that this was not here. And they had to create this.
Their public fishing here.
You know how like the ocean was
here.
created by
It's a great place to come and watch the
Well,
sunset.
this,
Come like maybe
a
20
man
minutes
had to
before
create,
sunset.
meaning several men had to create this one.
Before I worked for this company, I was accountant for another company, and I'd always bring people up here to Offense Bayou to watch the sunset. And then on the other side of this bridge on our left is our public boat ramp. We only have one public boat ramp or public boat launch on the entire island, and this is it right here. So we're going to head on to Broadway Avenue, Avenue J, and head downtown. Now, Galveston Island is only about 32 miles long and 2.5 to 3 miles wide at its widest point. Our annual year-round population of full-time residents, just full-time locals like me, not people that have second homes here, we only have 53,000 full-time residents that live there on the island. Every single year, we set a new record for tourism. Last year's record was 8.1 million visitors came to visit Galveston Island in a 12-month period. So we do have quite a popular little sandbar. The Galveston County Justice Center is coming up on our left. This large tanning glass building is the home to our DA's office, our police station, our sheriff's department, and our local jail. We do have a saying here on Galveston Island, and that saying is that we want you to come to Galveston on vacation, and we don't want you leaving on probation. Otherwise, you will make a personal visit there to the Justice Center.
That's a good quote.
One entire city block from this stoplight all the way to the next stoplight. Now, the street that we're type of thing is what I'm talking about. They were gigantic, and they were between 70 and 100 years old. And they used to form a big canopy on both sides of the street. Unfortunately, Hurricane Ike took out island-wide more than 40,000 trees of all different types. Now, they have been so proactive, because remember, we're Texans, we don't mess around. They have been so proactive with the replanting effort that for the last 6 years, we have been recognized as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation because we have replanted so many trees. That's a huge accomplishment to go from losing more than 40,000 trees to being a tree city.
I think like pleasures of all the way up there.
I see that pretty doggy in front of us. If we were to turn left here and follow this road all the way down, we would end up on Pelican Island. Pelican Island is the home to Texas A&M University at Galveston. It has one of the oldest maritime academies in the United States. It is also the home to the Galveston Naval Museum. There's a cool ship and a submarine over there that are open to the public for tours. The ship is an escort destroyer. It is the SS Stewart, and then the submarine is actually an attack submarine, and it blew up, sank, and destroyed a Japanese aircraft carrier during World War II. And the submarine is the SS Kabbalah. And if you are active or retired military or first responder, you can tour those vessels free of charge. Otherwise, just a small admission fee to check them out. They are pretty cool to go and check out. Also, very good views, beautiful views of Galveston Bay up there on Pelican Island. If you go over to Seagull Park, which also has playgrounds for kids, we're going to have a lot of kids on here, picnic grounds if you want to take a picnic dinner over there, you can that fried shrimp over at Darling, would be a great place to take it. And then there's also a public fishing pier as well over at
This is
Seagull Park.
crazy.
The
Is it
Galveston
anything?
City Cemetery is going to be coming up through the next stoplight that will be on the right-hand side. And I mentioned to you that sometimes the cemeteries were divided to different religious denominations. So this one coming up on our right is actually divided into 7 different cemeteries.
Where?
Now, some of the most prominent families on the island, such as the Moody's and the Seelings, have family buried in there. Now, they also say that that cemetery is extremely haunted. Lots and lots of documented paranormal activity here on Galveston Island due to the huge loss of life in the 1900s.
Oh my God! Look at that!
And there are several companies that offer those tours. One of them is done, I toured one, but one of them does do a ghost tour of the property and offering all of their homes. They might tell you about our Walmart being haunted, because our Walmart is haunted. Now, you won't notice anything if you go in there. I've been in that Walmart hundreds of times. We only have one at the Mobility Mall. And it's built right on top of the former grounds of St. Mary's Orphanage. And during the 1900 storm, 90 children and several nuns perished on that exact site, right where the Walmart is built. So the rumor is that the kids, spirits, like to come out late at night. They're friendly ghosts, and they like to play tricks on people. They like to play with toys in the toy aisle or play with the cash register. But again, you're not going to notice it if you go there because it only happens very late at night. And our Walmart, because I think most Walmarts are 24 hours, ours is not. Ours closes like at midnight every night. And the reason it closes early is because of the paranormal activity that happens later in the evening or in the early morning, really after it closes. St. Patrick's Catholic Church, the bell tower is going to be coming into view. You can see it there behind the billboard. We have a number of historic churches here on the island because when the immigrants came over from Europe, they all built their respective houses of religious worship. But we only go like 2 of them on the tour. So St. Patrick's right there with that large bell tower. It was built way back in 1871. one man had a drum. Every time he hit that drum, they turned those jacks through the unison, and then after 2 years of hard labor, we could get that church successfully elevated. There's going to be an ice water line marker coming up here on the right-hand side. So there's a white building coming up on the right, and then it's connected to a gray building. Just look to the left-hand side of the front door on the gray building, and you'll see the ice water line here was actually 4 feet 8 inches deep. Right here. You can look right up to the sea-level, 12 maybe a mile away. Don't notice the significant change in elevation. It's a very, very gradual change in elevation. So when Galveston was in its heyday, when we were a big boom town, we had more billionaires living here in the city of Galveston than in any other U.S. city per capita. And many of them did build beautiful mansions here on the island. We go by 3 mansions on the shore. The first one's going to be coming up through the stoplight on our left, and the top of it coming into view. And it is the Moody Mansion. It was built in 1895. Moody's didn't actually build it. They bought it from a lady named Mrs. Lewis right after the Great Storm. She wanted to get off the island, so she sold it dirt cheap. Moody's moved in here, lived here for a number of years. This is now a museum open to the public, and it's also the home of the Galveston Children's Museum. And it was built back in 1895.
There's one behind
The
it.
next mansion is the Sealy Mansion. It's going to be putting a stoplight on the left-hand side. John Sealy built it for his family back in 1871.
That one?
Mr. Sealy was the founder of our medical school on the island, the University of Texas Medical Branch. Originally it was called Texas Medical College. But when he died, he left that beautiful home to the university, and it is still owned and operated by the university today. Unfortunately, not open to the public. They use it primarily for special events.
Wow.
And then coming up on our right is Ashton Villa, built in 1859. James Brown built it for his wife. Her maiden name was Ashton. This is the oldest brick house in the entire state of Texas, built in 1859. They read the Emancipation Proclamation right there on the balcony. And it's also extremely haunted. Not open to the public. You can rent it out.
That's the oldest house in history.
If you
That's
want to
the
know more
oldest
about
mansion
it,
in
just
history.
look it up. Ashton Villa, but again, oldest brick house in the state of Texas. This is the oldest public library in the state of Texas right here. This is Rosenberg Library. It was built in 1904, and it was a gift from Henry Rosenberg to the city of Galveston. The second of the historic churches is coming up on our left. You can see the tall steeple there. It is First Lutheran Church. It was built by German immigrants, and again, Germans made up the largest group of immigrants that came through the port of Galveston.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Oh,
you can tell the cows over
they're-
here,
the
which
cows.
I was told is vodka in Spanish. One of my customers told me that. This originally was a dairy, a milk dairy.
Aren't
and
they copying
milk from 33
the
different dairy farms in Galveston County. It was open from 1914 until the 1980s. Originally it was called the Model Dairy, but it's now an ice cream shop called the Milk Bar. Really, really cool place to visit and check out. That's why you see all the cows out there.
the Bill Bar?
We are now in the downtown portion of the island. This is where everything happened in Galveston's heyday. This area was considered the Wall Street of the Southwest because so many people came to the city of Galveston and made their fortunes here.
You made their fortunes? What
The
the?
three big industries back then were cotton, cattle, and banking. Those were the three big industries. All of the older buildings that you see, all Great Storm survivors, all built prior to the 1900 storm. Galveston hosts the third largest Mardi Gras in the entire United States. You see lots of Mardi Gras decorations going up. Mardi Gras this year will be starting on February 22nd. Goes on for 2 weeks every year. Depends on when Easter's going to fall. It's the 2 weeks prior to Lent on the Christian calendar, so the dates change annually. But you'll see our Mardi Gras arch here on the right. up all year long as a tribute to Mardi Gras. Originally, we had 5 different arches back in the 1980s. This is the only one left that is still standing. And if you come here or come down here after dark, it is lit up in all of the Mardi Gras colors. We're going to turn right here onto the Strand. The Strand is our shopping and entertainment district.
So
It's
this,
named for a famous street in London.
so look,
On the
comedy.
right is a great place to visit. It's the King's Confectionery. It's an old-fashioned candy store. It's one of my favorite places. And when you go in there, you'll feel like you've stepped back in time.
Dude, that's a good Jeep.
You'll feel like that, of course, until you see the prices. Quack, quack, but I do definitely recommend the King. This is one of our historic rail trolleys coming up on the left. You see the metal tracks here on the left side of the duck? If you're on the left side, you can see it, but trust me, there's metal tracks. It kind of looks like railroad tracks. They are trolley tracks, and this is one of our historic trolleys. We have 4 of these trolleys on the island. They originally were started in the 1800s, and they were pulled by horses. During Ike in 2008, all 4 of the trolleys flooded, did not think they could be fixed. A company in Iowa said we think we
Wait, that's
can
good
fix it.
art.
So we sent them up to the state of Iowa. It took them 13 years and $1.5 million per trolley to restore them. It's a very important part of our history. If you hear the whistle, that's the whistle blowing for the trolley. And if you want to ride the trolley, you can look up the schedule online. Make sure if you want to ride the rail trolley that you look for the rail trolley.
Hello, horsies. Hello.
I'm going to show you guys the ice water line from down here during Ike in 2008. See the blue line here on this black lamppost? Very nondescript marker right there in between those numbers. But that is the ice water line from down here in 2008. There was more than 8.5 feet of flooding down here. So everyone walking around, even up on the sidewalk, they would have been underwater. This is the lowest elevation on the island. And again, where we took the biggest hit during Ike back in 2008. We're going to turn left here and head out towards the harbor area.
I was in the water if I was through
On
that.
the right is a fountain that was a gift from Henry Rosenberg. The front of that fountain was for horses to get water, and the back of it was for people to get water. We're coming up to Harborside Drive. Directly behind these buildings is the Pier 21. Behind these buildings is our deep water harbor where all of the large ships come in and out. I think they've all left now, but this is where the cruise ships come in
Wait,
and out.
is that Pearl
So we had
Harbor
cruise
or
ships
no?
down here earlier
Is
today.
that in Hawaii?
You see there's a large yacht in front of us.
But this is
Deep
where
water
the
harbor,
big
all of the
ships
big
come in and
cargo
come
ships,
out. It's
any
on
big
this
ships
side.
is where they dock
Where
back
we
here.
came
It's
from.
a
On the left
port.
behind the Pier 21 sign,
It's a
that
port.
is the
So
tall
whenever
ship. So
it's-
you see the big
It's
tall
like an
three-masted
area
ship
where
there.
big
She is
ships
the official
can
tall
pull in
ship
and pull
of
out. It's called a
Texas.
port.
And she was built in Scotland in
Oh my.
1877, and she is open every single day for tourists. Several times a year they put the sails up on her, and you can actually buy a ticket to take a ride on her, and they take her right out into the Gulf of Mexico. This is our original cruise port terminal here. It was built in 1927. We have Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Disney,
What's that over there?
and Norwegian or NCL ships going out of the port of Galveston.
Wait, it's like a spaceship.
I mentioned we have 8.1,
ships.
or last year's record was 8.1 million visitors.
Big
That does
humongous
count
ships.
each and every one of the cruise port passengers.
That's what they built it.
We're going to head back down through the Strand, which the Strand is open container friendly for ages 21 and over, as long as you do not have it in a glass container. You go right there to the paved playground, a bar right there on the corner, get your favorite cocktail, wine, beer, and you can walk around the Strand and sip and shop or just people watch. In most places you can't walk around with alcohol in public. You can go ahead.
Bye, little boy. Little boy.
You guys see this sticker right here on the back of this car that says BOI? You'll see those goes around the island. That means born on the island. That means someone is a Galveston native, which makes them a Galvestonian. So these stickers say
Where?
CLI, born on the island.
Where did you see
You see a
it?
sticker
No.
that says IBC. It means an islander by choice, someone that moved here but was not born on the island. In front of us is Sean Moody Plaza, built in 1839. This was the original
This?
Santa Fe Railway passenger
Guys, this is
station. This was the
one.
train
One
depot,
night-
and it is now the home to the
80
Galveston
something.
Railroad.
That's a
Looks
railroad
like the
trail.
trolley's done for the day.
This is where
They
we
park
have the
them right down
Christmas.
there in that garage. That's where the trolleys go.
When we had the Santa, we went inside that building.
So the original inhabitants of Galveston Island were the Carranza
Santa Express.
They were a
The village?
nomadic
Yeah.
Indian tribe that went
That's
up
where they
and
had
down
it.
the Texas Gulf Coast. They were heavily tattooed and heavily pierced, and they were really, really tall. They were in excess of 7 feet tall. And for the best part, they were cannibalistic. They like to eat people. Apparently they never ate their own people. They're like some hang up about eating their own people. But it was finding others. So they were always happy.
There's a ball building I said in 1947. That's where the Polar Express is.
So they could invite them over for dinner. Of course, they didn't bother to tell them you actually
Guys, I
are.
can subscribe if you haven't.
Thankfully for all of us, the Karankawa Indians are now in
Gold 1K
and they were
subscribers.
the original.
I'm gonna be streaming on TikTok and
Twitch.
my TikTok name is Squids.
For years and years, we had one post office. It took up the whole lot of floor. It's why the building still
Instead of
is
the
a
S
post
to
office.
Z.
But there's no post office here anymore. It's now office space for Customs and Border Patrol and for the Coast Guard and FBI. The large building coming up on our right, that is our City Hall. That is Galveston City Hall.
That one?
Which is where our local city government meets. The big building behind it, that's our main firehouse. Fire station is number 1.
Oh, that's
and
a
the
fire
headquarters of the
station.
Galveston
This is City
Fire
Hall.
Department.
Oh, that's City
The
Hall.
large monument that you see in front of us, that beautiful monument, is the Texas Heroes Monument. It was another gift from Henry Rosenberg to the city of Galveston. Mr. Rosenberg wanted that built to honor all the men that fought in the Texas Revolution. And it was made way up in New England.
Love the
It's
school.
made out of granite bronze. It was shipped here from New England. And it was installed in April of 1900. So it's coming up on its 125th anniversary. Now, Lady Victory at the top is pointing to the San Jacinto Battleground in LaPorte, Texas, where the final battle was fought and won. And as we go by, there are relief panels on each side of the monument, and each one depicts a different battle in the Texas Revolution.
Guys, this is crazy, bro. I don't know if I'm riding
Around
anymore.
26
Wow,
right now,
Dunhead.
also Rosenberg Avenue. It is named in honor of Henry Rosenberg. He and his wife moved here from Switzerland, immigrated here from Switzerland, never had any children, so when they died, they left all their money to the city of Galveston in order to build the fountain, the monument, and our library.
Kids died and they
Coming
gave it
into
to
the
the
Silk-Stocking Historic
government.
District now, that is the name of this neighborhood. It is called that because back during Galveston's heyday, only the rich ladies that lived in this neighborhood back then, they were the only ones that could afford to wear silk stockings. And if you notice the older wooden homes here, these are Victorian architecture. The Silk-Stocking District is meant to have some of the best examples of Victorian architecture in the entire United States. You'll notice a lot of the houses are decorated for Mardi Gras because the Mardi Gras, and Mardi Gras starting on February 22nd, but the Mardi Gras parades, they all come down this street, Rosenberg, or 25th. So this street, you'll see decorations all over the whole city, but this street in particular
The Holy Family
is heavily
Catholic
decorated.
School.
And why is it called the Silk-Stocking District? It is called that because back during Galveston's heyday, only the very rich ladies that used to live in this neighborhood, back then they were the only ones rich enough to afford to wear silk stockings. That's why it's called the Silk-Stocking District.
University.
The Rosenberg Home for Women is coming up on our left. This large mansion coming into view was another gift from Henry Rosenberg and his wife. Again, they never saw this because it was all built after they died. After they had left their estate to the city of Galveston. But this was a retirement home built in 1895 and operated until the 1970s.
So this is
As a retirement home for school teachers with 35 bedrooms and 13 bathrooms. It's now been beautifully restored. It was
Is it that one?
abandoned for years. About 10 years ago it was purchased, and they spent more
That's
than
a retirement for
$2
school
million
teachers.
restoring it. You can look it up online.
35
We bought
rooms
some
and
pictures of it,
13
online.
bathrooms.
And several times a year you can actually spend the
Why
night
is there that little things on
it
there?
operates also as an Airbnb. Look at those Mardi Gras decorations going on. Well, guys, that is going to wrap up our tour for this afternoon. I hope you had fun riding on the duck with me, learning about Galveston's history and experiencing this original. Remember, we're not a rush with our introduction. We rode on an original 1942 duck. And if you had fun, I want you to tell your friends and family
1942
to
duck.
come ride the duck whenever they come to the island. If you didn't like it, guys, it's all right. All I want you to do, I want you to tell your in-laws.
I had
Black
fun.
flag. And then as your captain, I work for tips and gratuities. That's actually how I earn my living, driving this duck around. So if you had a good time on the tour today, those are always greatly appreciated. If you don't have cash, I do have Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. I'm gonna get us parked in just a minute. I need you guys to stay in your seats, please, until I go to the back of the duck. I'm gonna make sure it's
Wait a minute,
safe for you
$5.
to exit.
My
And I want you
pocket
to check
money.
around your seating area and make sure that you have not left any
this
of
real?
your personal belongings on board. And I hope you guys have a great stay here on Galveston Island. If you're a local like me, we just call our little piece of paradise here, we call this place G-Town.
Yeah, that's right. $19 is real money. Guys, you don't have to watch the whole video, but that was sick, bro. Got money. I wasn't dropping. I got the biggest one here. Oh my god. I see a pigeon. A pigeon. That's a bird, that's a pigeon. Hey, I got the money. I got
Quack, quack.
bark, bark.
Made it back.
Oh, that's a good one. Quack, quack. Made it back. Oh.
En la otra lancha aquí más sí nos paramos. Allá uno sí se
Guys, is it really that bright? Oh yeah, it's burning. I got the money, modern queen, one y'all need. I really believe it. Alright. I'm gonna get I'll avoid the same stalkers. You. The $5 bill. $5 bill. I'm going to someone. I don't know who that is. Well, I already know who that is. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, my legs are tired. We never did. Running a marathon, guys. We're running a marathon, bro. Running a marathon. Running a marathon. Guys, that was fitting.